Okay. Uh, the good news, we start with that. No injuries. Always happy about that when we can leave injury free. Um, Obviously a number of things out there that we can certainly get better at. But you're looking for competition. You're looking for opportunities for guys to grow and learn after, a month of practice. This is, about how they perform. How do they react, when it's a game-like situation versus a controlled situation. So, all those things, that's why you play these games, right? It's like, why do you have a spring game? I think they're important because they're different than practices. A lot of people say, well, there's not a big deal about playing a spring game. It is a big deal. They give you another measuring stick when you're evaluating individuals that haven't played a lot of football, and then those guys that are looking to take that next step for you into championship level football. And I think there's a lot of those instances out there today, and I could rattle off a bunch of them, but I'm sure you'll hit me with a bunch of questions that I'll be able to answer for you accordingly. So let's go that way.
Just get your hand up, and we'll get you a mic.
Yes.
Coach, I'm just fascinated with your scoring system. The first time seeing you guys, and so this final score that you came away with, is that telling to you in some way?
No, not really. I think most of those points were scored, when we had made a bunch of substitutions. I think that the offense was efficient when our first group was in there. And then when our second group was in there, we weren't quite as efficient. I think it was pretty easy to evaluate it. I really like, the pieces that are coming together offensively. We can throw it, we can run it. The quarterback is really good. We've got explosive playmakers, and the offensive line is going to be a really good unit. So all the pieces are there. We got more work to do, but no, the scoring system was really one that we didn't want a bunch of points out there that everybody had to track. We didn't want anybody to have to spend an hour trying to figure out who got a point on a particular play.
So you're not worried about the offense being shut out in the second half? Obviously, it's a huge storyline here.
Oh my gosh! Now that you put it that way, I might not get any sleep. No, I mean I think again, we were much more interested in not playing key players in the second half, which we didn't. And again, I think we have to develop depth at certain positions. So if there's anything that I'm concerned about, I'll need to look at some film. But we have to continue to build our second unit, and offensively and defensively.
On a more serious note, I think a lot of people look at the spring game and kind of see not as much about the starters, but where the backups might be. And I think Jerkovic was going to get a lot of attention in this game, obviously being the backup quarterback, despite the sack numbers being outrageous, I guess, for this game. What did you see out of him, and what is your assessment of him, I guess, as the spring kind of concludes?
Yeah, I think we've had a number of sessions where I've said, he's still cooking. I mean, he's still growing. There's a lot of things that he learned today about, recognition of when the ball needs to come out of his hand, a clock in his head, so to speak. Those are all things that, getting a game like this today really helps him in that awareness. So I think he will learn a lot from today's experience about awareness. I think sometimes when you're a quarterback, you get too locked into progressions. He's got to get the ball out of his hands and take some one-on-one matchups when he gets them as well, and that'll come. It's just a matter of time.
Brian, how would you evaluate the linebackers over the course of spring and also today?
Oh, progress. Yeah, there's a lot of progress being made there. I could just see it from out there. I wanted to be out there because I wanted to see, from tackle to tackle, and we're progressing, to the point where we're starting to see some of the things that are being taught repeated, and that's when you start to feel a little bit better about where you're going to end up as a finished product. But there's enough athleticism there. It'll be our job and Clark's job to put them in a position to succeed as well, because they're not as experienced at that position as we've had in the past. So it'll be our job to utilize their athletic ability and put them in positions to succeed as well. So if that means us, doing some things, that's our job. So we're seeing progress, and I think we've got to be, smart and taking advantage of their skill set.
You've had some really good starting lead running backs here the past couple years. Is there anything you're seeing in Jafar that would lead you to believe that he could be someone like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, he can catch the football. He's starting to find a running back's, vision, if you will, where he's really starting to understand how to stay perpendicular and cut. Last year he was a 45-degree cut, and that was it. And now he's staying square, and he's just learning, and you can see that starting to come. We knew he was a physical player. All those backs run physical. I don't think there's a guy that doesn't. But yeah, he's taking that step up, and I've been singing the praises of Tony Jones all spring. It's too bad he couldn't play, but he's had a great spring. I think those two guys are really going to help our running game. Yes.
Hi, Coach. How do you see your freshman class adapting to your new system on offense?
It's not a very difficult system for them. It's fairly easy. I think where sometimes we see some of the guys struggle is when they start to memorize just their own position. They have to really learn the concept of the offense. Once they understand the whole picture, they really pick it up quite easily. I think a couple of the young guys are really starting to feel much more comfortable with the offense. But I think those guys that have struggled early, really didn't pick up the concepts. Once they do that, they're in good shape.
Okay. And what is your perspective from the offensive line after their performance today?
Yeah, they're going against two really good edge rushers, and I thought by and large did a pretty good job. Gave Ian a chance to get the ball out. They do bring pressure too, obviously, and force a quarterback to really manage his pocket. But I thought all in all they looked pretty good up front.
Brian, you're talking about depth, areas of depth. You look like you're pretty good in the backfield offensively, but defensively in the secondary, it looks like you need to get more depth there and perhaps maybe on the offensive line. Is that what you're looking at?
We played 6 guys all last year. I think, we're looking at Josh Lugg is going to be our Swiss Army knife, if you will. Probably a bad analogy, but, he can play center. He can play guard. He can play tackle for us. So Lugg's that guy, and Rulin obviously is a guy that we've got as well that gives us some flexibility. And we're going to have to probably, we're going to get Grunny back, from shoulder surgery. He gives us another piece. So, all in all, what we'd like to see is maybe the development of one of those freshman tackles, to see how they can maybe fit in there. But I think we're in pretty good shape there on the offensive line. There's help coming. You're going to get Crawford back. You're going to get Vaughn back. Alohi didn't play today. You're getting him back. So, I don't think there's any panic relative to depth. I think we're going to get some of those guys back, and I think they're going to be, really important to us.
And Davis is still in the picture there too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Avery too. So no doubt.
Brian, Ian's obviously not new, but this was the first spring with him as a starter. How do you feel about him coming out of the spring?
I mean, you guys saw him. I thought his first, drive was clean and it was efficient. He moved the ball around to a number of different receivers. I thought he had complete control of our offense, and so my sense was complete control of what he was doing, and was very assertive. I think what I liked the most was, some of the things that he struggled last year with was getting lost in the pocket, and lost meaning taking himself out of throws. The touchdown throw that he made was indicative of the progress that he's made this spring, where he slid, bought time in the pocket, and was able to hit Mike coming in the back of the end zone. Those are the kind of throws that separate good players from great players. And I've had some great quarterbacks in the red zone. That's what you're required to do, and I thought he did it.
You used Javon McKinley a few times late.
Yeah.
What is his status, and what did he have to do or still need to do for you to improve that status?
Well, we're trying to find out. We targeted him on purpose. We're clearly trying to figure out what he can do. He's been here too long for us to still have a question mark about him. So we're going through our exit interviews, and we'll evaluate his performance and make some decisions. Oh no, we're going to reevaluate his status at the end of spring. Yeah.
Coach, Agoro had a pretty good break up there in the second
Yeah.
quarter. How do you fill the shoes of Julian Love and bring Agoro up to speed?
Well, Timmy has done a really nice job. We feel like he adds to our depth as well. Sometimes he doesn't get enough respect amongst our our staff. Our players respect him. I remind our guys, even though he's a walk-on, he's earned every rep that he takes. He's a physical player. He can do some really good things for us. He's not going to fill Julian's shoes. A combination of players will. And he could be one of those combinations of players, if you will. And as I mentioned earlier, Vaughn's going to get a chance. Crawford's going to get a chance. Houston Griffin's going to get a chance. Timmy's going to get a chance. Rutherford's coming in as a freshman. He's going to get a chance. Bracey's going to get a chance. There's a long list there, so all those guys will get a chance.
Brian here. You mentioned the patience with Phil Jakovic. Does he naturally have that in himself, or is he a guy that is pressing and sort of wants it all right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, quarterback is a position where everybody wants to see, them, ascend to this position immediately, and he's like that as well. He wants to see it happen, but it's got to take some time for him, and he's got to understand that too. He's pushing himself a little bit too hard. He's a little too hard on himself. You can see that. I'm out there with him. He's got too much going on right now. He just needs to get the ball out of his hands and make it simpler. The game's a little too hard for him right now, and you can see he never played like that in high school. He made it simple, and he's making this game way too hard. And it'll come. He'll wake up one day, and it'll be a lot simpler for him. Right now, it's hard. And we'll get him to the point where it's simpler.
Biggest picture, like when you look at the program right now, the pillars that you see there in pace that sort of give you confidence that what happened last year can happen again. You can make that kind of.
Well, it starts with you got to recruit good players. I mean, you have to develop them. Which I think our preparation has been really good. We got to continue to prepare the right way, and there's a clear mission for what we want to accomplish and a standard that our players all follow. We just talked about it again. There's only one thing that we're after here, and that's winning a championship. So I just think that there's a clarity in what the mission is and how we do it and how we go about doing that on a day-to-day basis.
You mentioned the edge rushers. What is that next step for guys like Cream and Aquara?
Well, we put together, I think I said this the other day, we put together a highlight video for Julian where he had 27 missed sacks last year, 27. If he has just half of those, he leads the country in sacks. So finishing for Julian plays where he can be, leading sack guy in the country. So he can be a menace, to teams. We want that. So finishing for him. Khalid, I just think cleaning up his overall game in all areas, just the little things. Lined up offside. He's a dedicated player, but we just want to clean up all the little things in his game. He's a guy that can do a lot for us in the run game and the pass game.
Coach, we got to see a lot more of your younger running backs these last couple weeks.
Yeah.
What'd you learn out of Sebo, Kyron, and Jameer Smith?
Well, Jameer's a truck. I mean, he just would assume to run over you than miss you, which is fine. We know what his style is. And he'll also trip over lines when you swing him out of the backfield. So we've got to clean that end up. But he's a physical kid. He's game. He had a hamstring, and he fought through it. I'm proud of him. But he runs physical. Sebo is slippery. I mean, he's low to the ground. He's got great balance. He's got pretty good vision. He hits the hole well. And then you look up, and you think he's hadn't done anything. He's got 5 yards. Good natural instincts at that position. Kyron is a physical back for his size. He's a powerful kid. He's over 200 pounds, runs low to the ground, catches the football well. Pretty talented back in himself. So I think all those 3 guys afforded themselves very, very well today and give us confidence that if we get into a pinch, we've got those guys to count on as well.
With the addition of Lance Taylor and just the different personnel this year, how different do you expect the running back group to be in terms of scheme and how often you use them?
Well, Lance's style is different than Autry's. Autry was a very good coach, and we certainly each year look to bring in great teachers, and I just think Lance is a great teacher. He connects well to that group, and I think you're going to see him continue to excel. What does he do to change the group? I don't know if there's anything that he changes per se, but he's an intense guy, and he demands excellence. So I love having him on the staff.
Last year at this time, you named Alex Bars your 4th captain. Do you want to name captains now, or is that something you leave through the summer?
No, we need more time. Guys are doing a nice job, but we need some more situational scenarios for our guys to lead through. They're doing a nice job, but I want to see some more times where our guys have put some into some different situations through the summer. We'll do some more leadership work with them now that we have some more time with them. We'll have some time in June. So they just need a little bit more seasoning, but I think we've got a good group. But this is a different team and a different group of guys. So we'll probably won't announce captains until we get into camp.
And the interior of the defensive line, looks like you're going to get Hunter Spears and Jamion Franklin back, their progress, and just we always talk about rotation there, but it seems like you have 6 there that will be going in and out.
Really feel good about it. Obviously, as you know, I'm pretty high on Lacey. We think he's an outstanding player that can give us immediate depth. And then, I really think that, Jamion showed some things last year that, is still in our recent memory about what he can do at that shade position. He's much more of a shade where, Lacey is, he's an explosive 3 technique. So Hunter, we don't know yet, but we just got him moving in some football-related activities. But, we have high hopes there, too. So, yes, long answer. I think we've got some good depth with those young players, and it'll be exciting to see them move around in June.
Brian, from a local standpoint,
Yeah.
what is your evaluation of Paul Moala, not only today, but throughout the spring?
Yeah, I've been pleased with Paul. Paul's been put in a situation where he's got to leverage the football. He's got to be smart. It's a big field. He's a big field safety. So, you've got to protect real estate. You've got to be smart and savvy. Paul is a smart player. He can sense and feel where the ball may leverage him, and he keeps it inside him. He's a good short tackler. He's a natural tackler. But I feel pretty comfortable with him out on the field, knowing that he's going to tackle the football. Just needs to continue to grow and develop. He got his feet wet last year with some kickoff duties. We only played him in the 4. But he's a kid that I think you'll see playing for us next year.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.